theyeshiva.net.
So we're holding Daf Hey Amid Beis. It's 11 lines from the top. Daf Hey Amid Beis. Amar Mar Lo Sa'achir L'Shalma. The Gemarah just brought a whole brisa. The Gemarah brought a whole brisa of Tamura Status, which analyzed and dissected the pasuk about Bal Teacher, Kisidur Neder L'Hashem Elokecha L'Sa'achir L'Shalma, Ki Darish Yidrishenu Hashem Elokecha Me'imach V'Haya B'cha Chet. And the Gemarah analyzed every word of the pasuk, and as a result expanded the definition of Bal Teacher to many things that we wouldn't initially think of it in terms of Bal Teacher. Basically, it included a neder and a nedava, it included damin, erkin, chramin, ekdeshus, all the karbonis, tzedakos, maises, b'char peya, leket shikha peya. In the middle of the brisa, there was a line that said, "Hu loy sa'achir l'shalmai, hu v'loy chilufav." Hu v'loy chilufav. It could have said, when you make a neder, you shouldn't delay payment. Loy sa'achir l'shalem. What loy sa'achir l'shalmai? Hu v'loy chilufav. That the halach is only by him and not by his chilufim, by his substitutes. Frag the Gemarah, chilufim mai. What are you referring to? When you say chilufin, not the substitute, not the exchange, what are you referring to? So what are you supposed to do with this? You have a line in a brisa, hu v'loy chilufav. The halach of Bal Teacher only applies to him and not to his substitutes. Not to that which you exchange him for. What are you referring to? So by the Carbon Pesach we learned before, the second interpretation, that it means Shalmei Pesach, the Shlama of the Carbon Pesach. So here we're thinking about that there was a psachilov, there was a substitute for a carbon that you brought, and you would think by the substitute it would be Bal Teacher. So you're saying there's no Bal Teacher by the substitute. So the Gemarah now is going to break it down and show that it's going to be very difficult to understand this. He's going to start off. How do you deal with it? So where do you start with this? When you talk about carbonis, there's basically four types of carbonis. There's a carbon oila, a carbon shlamim, a carbon chatas, and a carbon asham. I mean, each one has many different categories and types, but generally speaking, it's four types of carbonas. A carbon oila is the type of the carbon that gets completely burnt on the altar. Carbon shlamim, a part of it gets burnt on the altar, and part of it is eaten by the kohanim, and part of it is eaten by the person who brought the carbon, who owns the carbon. And then you have a carbon chatas and a carbon asham. And here it's a sin offering, where also you have different types. Some of them, it's also eaten. It's eaten by the people or the kohen, and but they're brought for a particular aved, a particular sin. Then you have only basically three types of animals of carbonas. Carbonas were brought either you had a bull, a par, a cow or a bull. Then you have goats, and then you have sheep. That's it. You have two types of birds. But in terms of mammals, in terms of animals, only three types, right? Either a bull, an ox, or a sheep or a goat, and four types of carbonas. Okay. Again, you have carbonas yochid, carbonas tzibur, individuals, public. You have in a shlamim itself, there's many different types. I mean, you have a b'chor, you have a maisa, and you have a pesach. These are all types of carbonas. They fit in generally to the concept, to the model of shlamim, even though each one has different halachas. You can have different carbonas that are carbonas chayva, carbonas nedava, neder, carbonas that you're obligated. Yeah, carbon mincha also. Carbon mincha, not from animals. You're right, from grain. Yeah. So now the Gemarah, it says hu v'loy chilufav. The Gemarah is going to go through the list and see what could this mean. So he says, chilufei oilo shlamim. Let's start with oilo shlamim. The exchange for oilo and shlamim. What is this exchange? Why is there an exchange? So you're going to tell me. You took a behemoth, you took an animal, and you sanctified it as a carbon oil, as a carbon shlamim. Maybe one you're obligated, or one you're not obligated. That's irrelevant. Oilas re'iyah or stama oilas nadava. What happened? It got lost. It got lost. You made a neder, you're going to bring an oila, or you makdish a behemoth already. So what do? So you makdish a second one. You sanctify a second one. Now what happens is you find the first one. And you find the first one and you makriv it. So now you have a second animal that you will makdish as an oila, and this is called chilufei oila. This is the exchange for the oila because you thought you lost the first one, and that's why you made a second one. Now you found the first one. What do you do with the second one? So this would be chilufei oila or chilufei shlamim, a similar situation. So maybe that's what the Braisa means. Hu v'loy chilufav.
Why should it be different from Pesach? Come Pesach, which we said that the Khalifa
Goes in. That's what the Gemarah says. Very good. Mikra of Karvi. What are you supposed to do with the second animal? You have to be at Makrif. So it's like the first carbon. If so, it's like Bal Teacher. In other words, why should there be a difference? Why would the Braisa come and be mechadish this din and say that this second carbon is completely excluded from Bal Teacher? Where would you get this yisoid? If you have to be at Makrif as a carbon and it's a neder, you made a promise. So why should this be excluded from Bal Teacher just because it started off as a substitute for another carbon that was lost? Why would that make a difference? Mikra of Karvi, it has to go to the carbon, so therefore it should be part of Bal Teacher. So if that's the case, it doesn't seem like you could say it. Rashi says, Chilufei oila, kegoyin avda v'hifrish acheres tachta. You lost yours, so you separated another one. Nimtzas arishayna, and then you find the first one v'neschaper ba, and you got atoned with the first one, and you have a second one to do it. So you have a problem, Mikra of Karvi. So given the Kareva, Arei carbon latzma. It's already its own carbon. Ulashal my karina be. So when it says Leisidai Kisidai Nedel Hashem Alakecha Lesacher Lashal Mai, why would the Shalmai don't delay in paying it, in bringing it, in paying up your neder? Why would that it exclude the chiluf? It has its own shame, it has its own metzias, its own chalois, it's a carbon latzma. Why suddenly? What would be the Havana to say it's not l'shalmai? Just because it started as a chiluf for another one. So it's interesting. The Bach.
Why do you have to be discaped or rishalosh? Why do you have to learn like that? You had one. You lost it.
So that actually says you lost one. You got number two. You found number one. You bring number one, and now you have number two.
Let's see what mark number two.
Right. So if you see after the word tachta, there's a little letter, right? A dalet, which goes to Agah Sabach. The Agah Sabach has a different version. He changes the version in Rashi. He says, you see dalet Agah Sabach chilufei oila avda v'hifrish acheres tachteha v'nischaper ba. You brought number two. V'acher kach nimtzas harishayna.
Why would it make a difference?
Right.
The question is why would it make a difference?
So you see, Agah Sabach says you actually brought number two, and then you found number
So
one.
I would ask. Then no fakir.
Right.
Why this way?
Right.
Is there a difference?
Right.
They seem to be marketed to.
So actually, the Sfas Emes writes here that he doesn't understand.
It's the way that Grace Bach says that's called a
So the Sfas Emes says that he doesn't understand why the Bach would do it, because if he's right that you are makriv number two, and now you have the first one that's left over, so he says, how can you say l'shal moy v'loy chilufav? This is the original carbon oil you makdish. What do you mean? Hu v'loy chilufav. This is
the same halacha. It's just
right,
calling it chiluf.
right. And he says also, why would you b'chal call it a chilufin? Why is this chilufin? This was the original carbon. He says he doesn't understand why anybody would want to change in Rashi. If I cared, Rashi is b'diuk, that to understand the sugya, it's talking about that you were makriv number one and you left with number two. But the Havana would be the same in terms of the halacha, like you said. So what's yeah. Okay, let's speak about Tamura for a moment. Tamura means I didn't lose it. I have a behemoth, so we have a din in b'chokaisai lo yomer. You're not allowed to switch. Once a behemoth is kaddish, you can't switch it from here, from this one to another animal, even if the second one is superior. Even if the second one, there's no Tamura. V'im hamer yamer, and if you do it, v'hayahu smurasa yiyah kaddish. The halacha is that the Tamura now also becomes kaddish, so you have to be makriv both of them. Right, very good. You're left with the same shaila. So now you have to be makriv both of them, right? As a chiluf, not because you lost one. You have both, but you were over on Tamura. What would be the halacha? You have to be makriv this and you have to be makriv this. Again, why should there be no loisa acher? We would say the same shaila, mikriv krivi. So when you say that chilufei oila, it also wouldn't work. So the Gemarah.
Is it more asking because of what's the logic why it should be excluded, or they know that it's not excluded, and therefore why would we come?
Well, Rashi says l'shalmai karina be. When it says loisa'acher l'shalmai, Yeah, how can you?
Maybe that's what the Torah is teaching you. You wouldn't think that.
But that you're using your own idea. L'shalma, you're saying it's excluding the chiluf. He says, what's giving you any logic to do that? Why would you exclude it?
That wouldn't make sense. Who would that do it from?
But there has to be a psahavana here.
Why would that be different?
Right. Why would it be any different?
It's not enough.
Maybe you'll tell me it's not a carbon shlamim. L'sacha l'shalma means oila, not shlamim. I need a tfisa for it. I need a psa. Maybe say it's not a carbon chatos.
That's the logic why it's different.
Right. Why are you making this? I understand that it's not original. I got that. I understand the Metzias is different. Why would Ba'asa'acha be any different? It's the same neder. I was makdish this and I was makdish this. Here, I'm not allowed to wait three Yomim Tovim. And here, I can wait 4 years. Or whatever the shir
Maybe
is.
the logic is that you're already in cover. Or you already feel you're already...
I was Neschaba, but you don't say it's Chulin Ba'azara. I was Neschaba, you say it's a carbon.
You see there is some difference. So
Because an oila and a shlamim you can bring as an adav, it's not a problem if you bring a second one. Because an oila and a shlamim you don't need as an obligatory carbon. You're right. Even though I was neschapa, since an oila and a shlamim you could bring stam in middle of a Thursday or a Wednesday as goodwill, you don't need to be obligated in it. Therefore, there's no limit. You could bring a second one also. You're right. But mitzad loy sa'achir, it's not a difference. Let's go to the next one. It's a chiluf chatos. I have a carbon chatos. I lose it. I separate a new one. I find the first one, I makriv it, and now I have a second chatos. So this chatos doesn't go into Bal Teacher. The Gemarah says this doesn't work because lemissa azla. This animal goes to death. Obviously, it can be over Bal Teacher. Rashi says, chilufei chatos shechipru ba'aleha. You already atoned with the first one. Mechamesh chatoyes hamesisi. These are from the 5 chatos that die. Upshita d'le'over ele Bal Teacher. What is Rashi referring to? This is a difficult halacha. This is from the difficult halachas to understand. We have a sugya mesechta Tamura that there's something called chamesh chatois hamesis. There are 5 types of carbon chatas that die. What are the 5 types of carbon chatas that die? Number 1, chatos shenischapru ba'aleha. That's what's relevant here. I have a carbon chatos, I lose it, I take a new one, a makriv of the second one, then I find number 1, or a makriv of number 1 because I find number 1 and I'm left with number 2. That extra chatos I cannot bring as a carbon. What do? I have to let it die. The second one is chatos shamesu ba'aleha.
What do you mean that is
You put it in a, no, not Yid actually Stayev. Yid actually Stayev is not let it die. You put it in a house without food. It's a very hard halacha to understand. When the Rambam introduces it in Hilchus Psuli HaMukdashin, he right away says it's halacha l'Moshe Mesinai. Huh? That's number 1. Number 2, chatas shenischapru ba'aleh is number 1. Next is chatas shemesu ba'aleh. The owner died. In these situations, you can't just be makriv it. What's the havana here? The havana. This animal is not a voluntary carbon. It's a sin carbon, sin offering. So you can't just have 2, 3, 4, 5. A sin offering is 1 offering. So now you have a second one that can become a chatas. Oila and shlamim, I don't care. You could bring another one as an oila and shlamim. A chatas could never be an adav. It could never be an adav. If you're mechuyev in a chatas, the carbon has a shame carbon. If you're not mechuyev in the chatas, why? The owner died. Or you already brought number 1 and now this is a leftover one. Because you lost one and then you found it and you have a second one. This one, what are you supposed to do with it? It's not a carbon. If it has a blemish, right? It goes out from being a carbon. It's a good animal. On the other hand, it can't be a carbon chatas. And you can't redeem it. And you can't bring it as a carbon. So it has this profound holiness in it. So it has like its own halachas of a carbon, its own sacrifice, but it's a different type of carbon. It doesn't go into the Beis HaMikdash, there's no sprinkle in blood, no shchita. It is left to die in an isolated room. The third one is Tamuras chatos. If you make a Tamura, you substitute your chatos on another animal and both become holy. That second one, again, you can't be at makriv, not like a Tamura of Oila and Shlomo. The fourth one is a chatas that the year passes, and since the year passes, it's not royal hakrava, but on the other hand, it's still a carbon chatas, the same halacha. And the last one is if it's pregnant and it has a baby between hektish and akrava, that baby vlad chatas, once again, you can't be at makriv as a carbon chatas, and that has the same halacha. The Rosh Tevis here is, it's brought in Svarim, v'timna. It says in Parshas Vayishlach, v'timna hoisa pilegesh le'elifas. Timna was a pilegesh le'elifas. V'timna vav saf mem nun ayin is the acronym of Chatoyas HaMesis. Let's see, v'timna vav is Vlad Chatos, if there's a baby born. Timna's taf is Tmuras Chatos. Mem is Mesu Ba'aleh, the owner died. Nun is Neschapru Ba'aleh, he already atoned because he had another one. And the last one, Ayin, is Avra Shnasa, the year passed. So the Gemarah, if it's Chilufei Chatos, so what's the Bal Ta'acher? What's the Bal Ta'acher? That if you don't bring it as a carbon, Pesach Shavuos Sukkos, you have it a Bal Ta'acher, you don't bring it as a carbon, it goes to die. What's the Bal Ta'acher? What's the Bal Ta'acher? So of course, Huvaloi Chilufa, if you're not going to tell me a pasuk, you're not even a Bal Ta'acher, the whole Metzias of a carbon is not shaykh. This is an animal that's left to die, so the whole Metzias is not shaykh. So that doesn't work. So what do we do now? What's the Loi Chilufa? Oila Shlamim didn't work. Chatas didn't work. Yeah? The Gemarah ignores Asha. What about Asha? So Tosfos right away says the Gemarah doesn't have to say this because it's an obvious. Why? So Tosfos says, Ichilufei Chatas Lamissa Azla. In the wide lines you have in Tosfos the third or fourth one, the fourth Tosfos from the bottom. V'ichalufei Asham Liri Azla. If this happened to an Asham, I had a carbon Asham. Now Chatas and Asham are similar in the sense both come for sins. Chatas comes for inadvertent sins, 43 of them. You can bring a carbon chatas for 43 different experiences. For example, a Jew violated Shabbos b'shagig, he didn't know it was Shabbos, and he planted, or he wrote, or he lit a fire. So you bring a carbon chatas. Carbon asham comes for things that are usually b'mezid, and you have to bring a carbon asham, but it's also a sin. We say every day, right? Ve'elohein ashamas, asham gzelas, asham me'ilos, asham shefchi charufa, asham nazir, asham mitzoyre, and then there's asham toli. We actually go through all the karbanas every day, very brief and concise overview of the karbanas in the Perek Ezel Mekayman of Zvachim, the only Perek in the whole Shas that doesn't have even one machlaikas, one debate, which is a revolutionary thing. So therefore, you have now an asham, but the halacha by asham is that if you have a substitute for the asham and then you find number one or you find number two, you find number one and you macro number one, what do you do with number two? Liri'iyah azla. Here's Yirat Sheyistav. You let it pasture in the grass until it gets a blemish. And once it gets a blemish, it could be Yoitzel L'chulin, because now you can't be makriv as a carbon. But here again, the Kaimalon Kolsha B'chatas Meisa B'asham Raya. We have a klal. All the types of chatoyas that you would let the animal die by an asham, you don't let it die, you let it pasture. But what's the Bal Ta'acher? What's the Bal Ta'acher? If you weren't makriv it in 3 Yomim Tov to 3 Yomim Tovim, you're even on something, you're not supposed to be hit makriv. You have to let it graze. So what's the Bal Ta'acher? Till it has a mum. So again, it doesn't work. Huva loy chilufav, of course, there's no Bal Ta'acher, there's no carbon. Rabbi Tam de mefarish de minadin ba'asham karav oilim ken mikriv kravi. Rabbi Tam has a shita in Shas that minatayra, really, this situation by an asham, you could be at makriv. Again, you have the same problem like the Gemarah originally. If you makriv it, there is a Bal Ta'acher. So the Gemarah comes up with a maisa. What's the maisa? Elamai chilufov, chilufei toida. It has to be a chilufei toida. Now, what's maisa with chilufei toida is the same category of shlamim. It has a few different halachas. Right? We say the carbon toida is nachal hatoida ve'el nazir. Kadash, right? Hatoida kadash v'gam mazara. A shlamim you can eat for 2 days and a night. So if you makriv it today, Thursday, you can eat it Thursday night, Friday. A toida you have only 1 day and 1 night. That day and the night after. A toida also has another difference, and that is it came with 40 chalas. Every toida came with 40 loaves of bread. A toida was brought as gratitude for a person whose life was in danger and he or she came out intact. So you brought a carbon toida. What would be the difference here? Chilufei toida. I had a toida, I lost it. I was makdish another one. I find the first one, I'm makriv the first one, I have a second one, weiter. Well, what's the issue? What's the problem here? Chilufei toida here means not chilufei toida. You lost it. Chilufei toida here means Tamura. In other words, I had a behemoth of toida. I substituted it for another one. No. So you be makriv both. Tamura, you makriv both. Where's the issue of Bal Teacher? One is excluded. The problem here, it's like Shlomim. Why didn't we say Tamura by the other ones? That's what he asked. It wouldn't work. The problem here is the two got mixed. I had a behemoth of toid, I exchanged it on another one, so they're both holy. Now the two got mixed. I don't know what's the original, I don't know what's the Tamura. No, okay, so you don't know which one is what, but anyway, you have to be makriv both as a carbon toid. I don't have a problem yet. Problem is one dies, and now one is alive, but I don't know which one is alive, the original toida or the Tamura. So you say, okay, so it has to, the one that's dead, you can't be makriv as a carbon. So you have one alive, you have to be makriv as a carbon. It's good. So where's the issue of Bal Teacher? The problem here is, and this is unique by a toida, if it would be another carbon that you have a Tamura and they get mixed with the original on one dies, so you makriv the second one. Nothing you can do. This is a carbon. What happens if you makriv a carbon and it dies? It dies. Before you makriv it dies. The problem here is that it's a carbon toida. What's the issue? So the Gemarah is now going to explain. I just want to say, Stam, you should know about Chatoyos HaMesos, that they tried to prevent that it should never happen, because there was a way of almost making sure that it never happened, the 5 Chatoyos HaMesos, because it's a difficult halacha. What was the way to do it? The Gemarah says about Hillel HaZaken and Psachim, that he was never makdish an animal before it came to the Harabayas. He only did it when he was ready to beshecht it. In other words, when he brought his animal from the house, it was chulin. So by a carbon chatas, if you do this, it was very unlikely there's going to be a problem. Why? Because to say that the few minutes from when you're on Harabayas till you shech, the owner dies, or you lose it, or it has a baby, right? Or it has a baby, or you make Tamura, or the year passes, it's not going to happen. So mainly you'll be makriv this chatas and shalom yisrael. Just one above one. It wasn't. They used to be careful. It shouldn't happen. It was a rare thing. I mean, it can happen, but it was a rare thing. It should happen. But what's the case here? The Torah B'chiyah. Toida sh'des arva b'tmuras. You have a toida, it gets mixed with the Tamura. Both are holy. Umeisa achas man chaverta ein la takana. The chaver, the second one, you can't be at makriv. You know why? Because here's the halacha. The 40 loaves of bread only comes with the original, not with the Tamura. The pasuk says, indicates that the bread only comes with the original, not with the Tamura. No. So here's your problem. If you wouldn't have to bring bread with the carbon, you're makriv the second one. You don't know if it's the Tamura, it's the original. So what? The halachas in terms of sprinkling the blood is the same. You're good to go. But since you have to bring 40 breads, and that becomes a carbon, but you don't know if you're mechuyev in it or not, because you don't know which one died, so you're stuck. Because there's no such a thing as taking an animal, or taking bread, or taking grain, that you're not mechuyev to bring, making it holy, bringing it into Azara, burning it on the Mizbeach. This is a serious issur of Mevi Chulin Ba'azara, Makriv Chulin Ba'azara. Somebody takes a chicken and shechts it in the Beis HaMikdash for kaparas and decides to sprinkle the blood. It's Chulin Ba'azara. There's no din carbon here. You took bread that you're not mechuyev, you make it a carbon, you put it on the Mizbeach, you burn it. It's Mevi Chulin Ba'azara. You're not allowed to do it.
Change it for Shlomim or
The bread. The bread.
the carbon?
No. It's a toida. I can't do that. So what do you do? Ein l'takana. Why? Heichi levet. What are you supposed to do? Likarv of a likriv lechem b'hada. If he's going to be at makriv and bring bread, dilma t'murihi. Maybe this is the exchange and you're not allowed to bring bread because you're not mechuyev in bread. And if you bring bread, you're bringing chulin into the azar and you're not allowed to. Likarva b'loy lechem. Bring it without bread. Dilma toidahi. Maybe it's the toida and you're not allowed to be at makriv without bread. So therefore, you can't be at makriv. This is the chiluf. This is the chiluf. This chiluf, you're not allowed to be makriv, even though it's completely kosher lahakrava.
You also can't not be makriv.
Right.
So what do you do?
It's the same as the chatas.
No, it's not. You don't do that by the chatas. It's only a din halacha l'moshe masina by chatas. You have to let it go till it has a mum. Yira acha yistoyev. But the Gemarah says, frag the Gemarah, hakivan the lav basakrove, he krala miyuta lamali. If it's not a bas hakrava, so what do you need a pasuk to exclude it that there's no Bal Teacher? Since you can't be at makriv, of course you can't be even on Bal Teacher. What was the hava minute? What was the hava minute? Even though you can't be makriv this Torah than before, by chatos we said, if you can't be at makriv, you're not even on Bal Teacher, but here it's different. By the chatos itself is a chefza that's not royal hakrava. It's itself not royal hakrava. Here, the chilufei toida itself is really royal hakrava. The problem is because it got mixed in. Because it got mixed in with the toida, and you don't know which one died, it's not good for hakrava. So therefore you might think, since the thing itself is royal hakrava, right? It's just you have a side problem that you can't be at makriv. Not the animal. The animal is all good. It's good for the mizbeach. Just you have a problem, you don't know how to bring bread, you might think you're even a Bal Teacher. There's nothing you can do. I know, I'm sorry. But there's no hafka of Bal Teacher, because the cheftza of the animal is royal hakrava. On this, the Gemarah says, doesn't make sense. If the guy can't be at makriv, then you can't say Bal Teacher. So zayin, that itself is royal hakrava. The gavra can't bring it. Why? Because he can't bring bread. Okay, but where's the Bal Teacher? Don't delay in bringing it. Don't delay. I can't bring it. I delay, I want to delay, I don't want to delay, I can't bring it. So Meila again, what do you need a pasuk? Hu v'loy chilufav. Of course there's no Bal Teacher. Of course in this case there's no Bal Teacher. Now, if both were alive, what do? You bring both, and you bring bread, and you make a tanai. Whichever one is the toida gets the bread. Who cares? The bread becomes, it's not chulam ba'azara. That's if both were alive. Mixed or not mixed, I don't care. Bring the lechem and make a tanai. It should be for the real toida. You don't know which one it is, so you don't know. And you eat the lechem just like you do anyway. The problem here is one died. So you can't say it should go for the toida. You don't know if you're bringing the toida. If you're bringing the tamura, you can't bring the bread. That remains your problem. Because that's your problem, you can't be at makrif. So therefore, at the end of the day, there's no Bal Teacher. What's the Bal Teacher? So I need a pasuk to say there's no Bal Teacher. What are you supposed to do? There's not shayach Bal Teacher.
What do you do if you have a Korban Todah and he died? You have to bring a Korban Todah. You
bring another one. You bring another one.
You bring another one.
What happens if you bring a carbon Pesach and it died? Any carbon.
No,
Unless it's a carbon nedava, where you said Harei Zek carbon, and you're not mechuyev, we said you're not mechuyev if it gets stolen, if it gets lost, if it dies, you're not mechuyev to bring another one. Because it was a nedava. But a toid is not a nedava, a Pesach.
The second one you bring the lechem with it, or you don't bring the lechem?
The second one you bring lechem because you didn't have a toida yet.
Okay, but not that he died. Not that one died.
But you don't know which died. What if the Tamura died?
It doesn't matter because now that one died,
No.
I magdish a new one.
He's saying bring it, take another one and bring it, but then you
With the lechem.
first you have to bring two sets of lechem. He's saying what's if one dies? So now we manage another time.
So Zain, let's say let's say we accept that, okay? But what are you doing with this animal now? You could be a makriv or not. No. That's it. Zolzan you could do it. You can't. But Zolzan you could. You're still stuck. You feel better, but the poor animal is stuck. But you can't do it anyway because you don't bring two carbon pesachs. You don't bring two carbon tiders. You don't just bring.
What he's saying, if he died anyway.
One died.
One died.
The
Right.
zweite
So
lebt
you have
noch.
to
You don't have to bring.
Don't know if it's a Todah. Maybe it's
we have
not
to bring a right, we have to bring a toilet now.
Zolzain.
This one is
There can't be this one? Can
So what you do is yirat sheyistayev. You let it graze until it gets a mum, and then it goes out lechulin, right?
Then you bring a third one?
And then you, with that money, you bring a taida. That's what you do.
The same tanai afterwards.
You bring a taida without bread.
because the
Huh?
lechem is chulin bazar.
Why can't you bring another carbon?
I can't be makriv the old one. I'm not allowed to be a makriv without bread. I can't be a makriv. If the original one was taida, I can't be a makriv without bread. If it wasn't taida, I can't be a makriv with bread. So you just have to let it go. So you see, the Gemarah had a word huveloy chilufav, and it was responsible to break it down, and it goes through every possible scenario, what we can deal with. So first it went with oila and shlamim, it didn't work. Tamura didn't even exclude, because it obviously didn't work. It went to chatos, it also didn't work. It went to toida in a particular situation where it might work, and it also didn't work. Reb Sheshes comes up with the case. This is a case. It excludes the chiluf of oila shlamim. You just told me it's going straight to the Mizbech. Of course it's Bal Teacher. Why excluding it from Bal Teacher? I'll tell you what happened. Gegoin Shavru Olav Shnei Regalim. 2 Yomim Tovim passed on your first carbon. V'humam, it got a blemish. You have your behemoths waiting to go. Pesach and Shavuos passed. You want to go bring it for Sukkot, it has a blemish. Can't. What do you do? So when you do is when it has a mum, you can't be a makriv. So you're mechalal it, meaning you confer the kedusha on another one, a good one, a wholesome one, and this goes out lechulin because it has a mum. That's the din chilul alach. So you take another behemoth, you say zu tachazu, and the behemoth that has a mum goes out lechulin. No, is the good. So bring it now. Va'avar alav regel echad, and now Sukkah's passed. 1 Yom Tov passed. What's the halacha? Do you say, oh, you got to bring it on Sukkahs? You're even on Bal Teacher. Sol kedai techamina hoyel mikoyach kamakasi. Since the second carbon is coming as a continuum of the first, it's mikoyach kama. It's a continuation of the first kedusha. Command overall of shleishir golem dami. So it's like 3 Yom Tovim passed because 2 passed for number 1, and 3 passed for number 2. So you're going to be even on Bal Teacher. That's Kamash Malon. Hu v'loy chilufav. Hu v'loy chilufav doesn't mean the chiluf is not shaykh to Bal Teacher. The chiluf is shaykh to Bal Teacher. Why not? You have 3 Yomim Tovim. Hu v'loy chilufav means don't think that Bal Teacher will work by combining hu and the chiluf together into one package deal. That 3 Yomim Tovim pass on both of them. You're even on Bal Teacher. You don't say that. The chiluf has a separate identity. So when it says loy sa'acher l'shalmai, hu v'loy chilufav, it means that you're over on Bal Teacher if 1 carbon passed through 3 Yomim Tovim. You don't combine the carbon and the chiluf together into shalosh regalim. Everyone has its own cheshbon. So you have another 3 Yomim Tovim for this one, for this new exchange, even though it came with koyach kam.
Which carbon are they talking about specifically?
Either oil or shlamim. By chatas it wouldn't work.
By Pesach it wouldn't work.
Right.
Can't work at all.
Right.
So the Bal Teacher is basically is on the Chefs, not on the Gabra.
Right. You would think, even more than that, even mitzad the chefza, you would think mikoyach kamakasi. The chefza is a continuation of the kamas. Even mitzad the chefza, you would think, not only mitzad the gavra.
But you add to it.
You add to it, exactly.
You slip on the second
Right.
one. I wouldn't think that.
Right. Now, Stam, there's a sefer Meroim Sada by the Netziv, he makes a hara, that the Gemarah here has a case of humam, not nevda. The you can make the same cheshbon with nevda if it got lost. The first one got lost after 2 Yomim Tovim, and you got a new one. But he says that wouldn't work. When it's humam, so then the kedusha of the second one is coming from the koyach of the first carbon. Because the first carbon becomes a balmum, so you're mechalal, that's what chilal, you're mechalal, which literally means you, so to speak, violate. You're mechalal, the kedusha from one on the kedusha of another one. So you could say that the 2 Yomim Tovim combine with the third because the chefza becomes like one chefza. But in the case of nevat, the first one got lost. It remains holy. I didn't take its kedusha and went somewhere into the jungle. I don't know where it is. The second one is a whole new kedusha. So there's no hava minute to say that the loy Bal Teacher would work with the first one. Why? It's a separate cheshbon. Unless you say it's mitzad the gavra, but that wouldn't work here. You wouldn't make that cheshbon. That's why the Gemara brings the mashal dafka of humam, not of nevat.
So the substitute gets its own period?
Right, it has its own. So the Gemara says, according to the Meir, who says you have 1 Yom Tov of Bal Teacher, how is he going to explain hu v'loy chilufav? In other words, according to him, you don't have to combine it with 2 Yomim Tovim. 1 Yom Tov anyway works, so what's the hu v'loy chilufav? That you don't combine it with chilufav. Don't combine it, it's still Bal Teacher. Amar Rava, and according to the Meir, you're going to humam b'toich haregel. The mum happened in the middle of the first Yom Tov. V'chilala, you transferred it to the other behem. V'avar alav haregel. And now, the Yom Tov passed on the second one. Sol kedai techamina. Hayul mikoyach kamakasi. Kemanda avar alei. Kule regel dami. Since it came from the first one, so it's as though a whole Yom Tov passed. So Reb Meir would say, you're over on Bal Teacher. The first half of Sukkot you had the first carbon. The second half of Sukkot, you had your second carbon. Sukkot finishes, you didn't bring the carbon. Bal Ta'acher. This carbon never had a Sukkot. It only had a half a Sukkot. And the Meir says, you need a Sukkot, or you need a Pesach, you need a Shavuos. Shavuos is one day, but easier with Pesach and Sukkot. Kamashmal on the Chiddush is no. You needed the second carbon should have its own Yom Tif, and you're not over on Bal Ta'acher only when it comes to the second Yom Tif. The second Yom Tif, Reb Meir would say you're over on Bal Ta'acher. Why are you over on Bal Ta'acher? Because he says one Yom Tif. So Reb Meir, you're going to say Hu v'loi chiluf of is what? That it's not mitztarif with the chiluf in one Yom Tif, the same Havana, but not with 3 Yom Tiv. We're going to do it with one Yom Tif. Let's just see Rashi here. Sagt Rashi, Chilufei Toida. Chilufei Toida gegoinchen es arva b'rishoina, v'kaimelon al zevach ha-toida chalos. Ha-toida tu'un lechem, v'loi chalifasa, v'loi tmurasa tu'unim lechem. The diuk is, it says you have to bring the lechem, not al zevach toida, al zevach ha-toida. We spoke that the way Moshe Rabbeinu wrote the psukim, in one letter he put in his shir. So al zevach ha-toida. You bring the lechem on the carbon of the toida, meaning only the original gets the bread, not any toida, not tmura and not chiluv. They'll never get bread. Umeisa achas mehen zokrash. Imo yustein kayamas meviya no mevi arbaim chalas kemishpat toida. V'omer arei alechem azel l'shem oisa shi toida. Ushchitas toida tekadesh arbaim kemishpata. Gesundheit. Aval meisa in lechaverta takana. So the answer is v'chiluloi al acher. Amar zeh tachazeh u'balmum yoytzi l'chulin. Sol kedai techamina v'hachi kamar kra. Im ala echad averzman ichur chayav. If one got the time of ichur yichai v'loi sheyitztarfu hu v'chiluf of l'gimel regalim. So hu v'loi chiluf of doesn't mean he is in Bal Ta'acher and the chiluf is not in Bal Ta'acher. The chiluf is also in Bal Ta'acher. You just don't say that the chiluf works together with who. Each one has its own cheshbon. It's a different type of the price. Sha'avra. So that would be the case where it would work hu v'lo chiluf. So on the top of Hayamid Beis, the first line, the Gemarah said, Minan Namili, how do you know all the things that we said before, all the obligations that fall into the category of Bal Ta'acher? So he brought the Braisa that dissected the pasuk. Kisider neder l'Hashem Elokecha l'Yisachar l'Shalma ki dorish yidrushenu Hashem Elokecha me'imach v'haya b'cha chet. Word for word, going through every single category that the pasuk includes and intimates to go under the umbrella of the Isser of Bal Ta'acher. The Gemarah particularly stopped on the words Hu lo Yisachar l'Shalma. So l'shalma is hu v'lo chilufav, what that means. And now the Gemarah goes to the last line of the Braisa, which said v'haya v'chachet. What's v'haya v'chachet? V'loi b'karbon chachet. That if you do delay the carbon, so then there will be a sin in you, but not in your carbon. Of Bal Ta'acher. What's pshat v'loi b'karbon chachet? So Rashi said, ein ha-carbon nifsal b'kach. Don't think that just because you brought the carbon late, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot passed, and you were over on Bal Ta'acher. Therefore, the carbon is already worthless. Don't bring it. It's gone. It's disqualified. No, v'haya b'cha, b'cha, b'chachet. That's why the pasuk says those 3 words. V'loi b'karbon chachet. So now the Gemarah analyzes these words. Agav, when you say the Isra Bal Ta'acher, usually a loisisa, a person would get. Usually a loisisa, a person is over on a loisisa. There could be a chiyav malchus, a chiyav of lashes if there's witnesses and warnings. But actually in this case, the Rambam brings out there's no malchus because it's a lav she'ein by ma'isa. The only time you can get malchus is if you're over on a lav where there's an action. Here there's no action, fakert. You didn't do. Loisa acher, what you do, you did nothing. A lav she'ein by ma'isa ain't like in a lav. Doesn't mean it's not a lav, it's a loisisa. But there's no penalty. There's no visible penalty of it, of Malchus, because Allah Shem by Ma'is. The Rambam also paskins, like the shit of Tanakama, that Bal Ta'acher needs 3 Yomim Tovim, which is Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, and it doesn't have to be in the order. But now we're going to analyze these last 3 words, V'hoya b'chachet. Zog the Gemarah, V'hoya b'chachet, V'lei b'karbon chachet. V'ha mehache nafka, midachetem nafka. is this really derived from this pasuk v'haya b'chachet, that the carbon doesn't get pasul? L'chayre midachedim nafke. There's a brayse already that quotes achedim. Achedim is interesting. Achedim means others, strangers, but it refers to the mayor. The mayor, the whole good. Right, the story at the end of Masechta Hoydi is there's a ganze long maise, and the Poyel.
Rabbi and the Yeshayim is Rabbi.
Yeah, the Bnosson, yeah. And they gave the mayor this nickname Achedim. So when it says Achedim, others, it's referring to the mayor. So there's a brass when it says Midachedim Nafka, we learn it out from Achedim, meaning Reb Meir already gave a source for this din on another brayse. Which means, if that's the case, that there's something off, because you don't need the V'haya b'chachet. So you're back to your question, what does V'haya b'chachet, what does it mean? What is it referring to? So the Gemarah starts quoting, Midachedim Nafka, we already know it from the drasha, from the limbo that Achedim, Reb Meir gave over. Tanya, the brayse says, Achedim Moimrim, Achedim say, Reb Meir says, he speaks about a carbon b'chayr. We all know, when it comes to a carbon b'chayr, so what is it? You have the first male borns of your cattle and your sheep. So the first male born of your cows, in other words, your calf and sheep and goats, has to go to whom? To the kohen. Not every animal that's born. Those 3 kosher animals, just like we have the pidyon haben of a b'chayr. So all your animals, all your cows, and all mother sheep, and all mother goats that give birth, their first male born doesn't belong to you. You have to give it to the kohen. It's called a b'chayr. And what does the kohen do with it? It's his. He goes, he's makriv in the Beis HaMikdash, and then he eats it. Like we say every morning, ha-b'chayr v'ha-maiser v'ha-pesach, so it's kachim kalim, b'chayr nechal la-koyanim, maiser l'chal adam, nechalim b'chal ha'ir, b'chal machal, l'shtayamim v'layla echad. So you have, the b'chayr is a carbon that the kohen brings, and then he eats it. When do you have to give the b'chayr to the kohen? The b'chayr is born in my farm, so now I have a baby calf, a baby cow, or a baby bull, a little baby calf, a baby sheep. When do I have to give it to the kohen? So the pasuk says, the lashon is, L'fnei Hashem in Dvarim in Perek Tesvav, L'fnei Hashem Elokecha techlenu shana b'shana. You should eat it in front of Hashem, year by year. L'fnei Hashem techlenu, it's a carbon you can't take out of Yerushalayim, so it's L'fnei Hashem techlenu. What's shana b'shana, year by year? So from here we learn that the b'chayr has to be given within the first year. So if I have a baby calf, 1 year passes, already not good. I have to give it, because it says techlenu shana b'shana, year by year. In other words, I shouldn't wait 1.5 years and give it to the kohen. Every single year, tops a year, is the end when the cutoff time that the kohen has to get my carbon b'chayr. Comes the maid and says, Tanya achedim moimrim, since you have to give the b'chayr within the year and he has to be makriv within the year, because it says eat it year by year, that means he has to eat it the first year, so I have to give it the first year. Yachol yeh b'chayr sha'avra shnasei kipsuli ha'mekdash. So you might think, a b'chayr that a year passed. In other words, I procrastinated. Ich hab sich gekratzt. And I did not, you remember that word? And pils bizich hab sich ausgekratzt. A year passed from the birth of the baby calf or sheep for the kohen to be at makriv. I would think it becomes kipsuli ha'mekdash. Psuli ha'mekdash means a carbon that becomes disqualified. For example, a blemish is born in the animal. You can't bring it as a carbon anymore. Once the year passes, it's like a mum. If there would be a mum in the b'chayr, you can't bring it as a carbon anymore. Right? In fact, even today, when a person has a b'chayr, there's a problem because the b'chayr belongs to the kohen and it's a holy thing and you have to wait for it to have a mum. So you would think the year makes it a mum. Kipsuli ha'mekdash. V'yipasel.
The mayor holds you need 1 yom tov about that.
Emes.
You need 1 yom tov.
1 yom tov.
No.
For the Isser.
No, for the shana b'shana by b'chayr. Is that 1 yom tov?
No, that's a year.
That would be 3 yom
Yeah,
tov.
that would be 3. A full year, even more than 3 Yom Tov.
Right.
A full year.
I'm just saying, but it's not about that.
Right, one thing. Yeah, and you would think v'yipasul, and it becomes disqualified from being at makriv. Why? Because you delayed it post-year. Talmud Loimar comes to the maid and says, this is a good havamin. A svara it is. However, since the pasuk says, v'achal by meiser it says, in Dvarim Perek Yudalad, v'achal to lifnei Hashem Elokecha, let's read the whole pasuk. You have it on the sides if you have the psukim. V'achalta lifnei Adonai Elohecha b'makom asher yivcher l'shaken shmoi sham, ma'aseh goncha, tiroishcha, v'yitzarecha, uvchayres karcha v'tzaynecha leman tilmad liyiris Adonai Elohecha kol hayam. You should eat in front of Hashem, meaning the place where He will choose to dwell His name, in Yerushalayim. Number one, you should eat the meiser that you give from your grain, from your titters, from your oil, from your olives, yitzer from your wine, and from the pchayres of your cattle and your sheep. You should eat it in Yerushalayim to learn to fear Hashem all the days of the life. Makish pchayr l'meiser, clearly, the Torah equates here the carbon pchayr to meiser. No. Ma meiser ain't a nifsal mishana l'chaverta. Just like meiser, you also have to give every year. Every year for my produce, I have to give truma, I have to give meiser rishon, I have to give meiser sheni. Year 3 and 6, I have to give meiser ani. But what happens if I don't give 1 year? I wait till next year. I leave my grain, I leave my fruits, I wait a year, or I even wait 3rd year. What's the halacha? Doesn't get possible from 1 year to another year. Why? Let's see Rashi. Rashi says, Sha'avra shnasai, mitzvasai b'toich shnasai l'bchar, shenemar l'fnei Hashem l'kechet echlenu shana b'shana. You would think Kipsulei HaMekdashim Balmum v'Yipasel Ho v'Aver Elo v'Icharoi Sharei Ein Shana B'Loi Shloisha Regalim B'Rov Shanim. You don't have a year. We're going to see what this Rashi means a little later in the Gemarah. You don't have a year without 3 Yomim Tovim. So you would think that once you delayed your B'chayr after your year, for sure it's going to be possible. So we say Makish B'chayr L'Maiser. B'Maiser Dogan Kamish Toikra. Doesn't mean Maiser Behemi. It means Maiser Dogan. Ma Maiser Ein Nifsel D'Ksiv. Miktzei shalosh shanim, at the end of 3 years, toitzias kol meiser tvoscha b'shanaim shana masreis v'shana reshayno shniya. The pasuk says in Dvarim that if you delayed your meiser year and 2, at the end of 3 years, make sure you get rid of all your meisers. Clearly,
It doesn't make sense. According to Rabbi, you need 1 month. That's about the Here you need 3 months. So what's the Mashal? What's happening? We know from Hoy B'Chachet, you know 1 Yom Tov. From here, we know you need a whole year. So for over here, you need a whole year. For Bal Teacher, you need, which is Hoy B'Chachet. There's nothing to do with it. There's nothing to do with it. There's nothing to do with the Inyan of B'Chal. You told me, Rashi says clearly that you need 3 Yom Tov. What's happening is according to Rameya. Rameya is Rameya.
yeah. So the pshat is like this. In the Meir, you don't need this vart of Rashi. Ein shana b'loy shloisha regalim b'rev. You say meiser, you have to give every year. If you didn't give 1 year, you give it the next year. You didn't give that year, you give it the next year. So we say b'choyer is just like meiser. That even if I didn't do it the year, so now year 2 comes, I could give my b'choyer to the kohen, and the kohen can be at makriv as a carbon, and it's not possible. That's what the Meir said. Makrish b'choyer l'meiser. So even though I gave my b'choyer late, what's pshat late? It says teichlenu shana b'shana. It's not doesn't passel. The carbon just like meiser doesn't get passel because the Torah compares the 2 in 1 passel. Sure. You would think because you did that, it became kipsulei hamagdash. The man says no, it's not kipsulei hamagdash. You did wrong. You shouldn't have done it, but fine. The carbon is fine. You can eat makriv. Now let's go to the next thing. Does a b'chor go into the issue of Bal Teacher? Forget shana b'shana. So we learned before in the Brayso the whole list of what goes in. Yeah, kisider neder l'Hashem alekecha. It refers to a chatos, an oila, a shlamim. It also refers to a carbon b'chor. So b'chor also has the din of Bal Teacher. If you tell me that if I give a b'chor in year 2, it's a kosher b'chor, because what the Meir taught, clearly, I was over on Bal Teacher also, because 3 Yomim Tovim passed. I was over on Bal Teacher. Nonetheless, is the carbon kosher? Yeah. Now, like Reb Meir himself, Reb Meir would say it a little different. Reb Meir would say, if 1 Yom Tov passed by B'chor, was I over on Bal Teacher? Yeah. Is the behemoth kosher for a carbon? Yeah, even a year past the behemoth is kosher for a carbon. Certainly 1 Yom Tov past the behemoth is kosher for a carbon. Clearly, Bal Teacher doesn't disqualify a carbon. The reason Rashi says a year includes shalosh regalim is because Rashi wants to bring out the shitta a little bit the kulal. Like the Meir, the chavad gevis. Bal Teacher is 1 Yom Tov, which is a lot less than a year. So already 1 Yom Tov passed, I was already over on Bal Teacher. I have a b'chor on Purim, because from b'chor I learn now, b'chor is in Bal Teacher. I'm over on b'chor in Bal Teacher. And nonetheless, the b'chor remains kosher. Is the charaya the Bal Teacher doesn't disqualify a carbon.
That's true.
But let's remember, Dalet Amid Aleph, the last line, Tanu Rabbanon, Chayav Yadam min Erkin Achram min Akdesh Achtois Vasham is Oil Shlomim Zdakas Maisris Chor Maise Pesach Leket Shikhu Peya Harei and Kulon Kivon Shavalein Shal Shagom Even Bal Ta'acher. In other words, when I delay my B'chor, either one Yom Tov Leiter Meir, 3 Yom Tovim Leitana Kama, Sukkos Leiter Belazar, according to each one in his shitta, is Even Bal Ta'acher. So let's talk about the B'chor. Nonetheless, Reb Meir taught us, Bal Ta'acher you over. But if you bring it as a carbon the next year, it's good. So from here we learn a Yisoid, that Bal Ta'acher, with Psul HaKarbon, it's 2 separate issues. Bal Ta'acher doesn't affect Psul HaKarbon. No, Carbon Pesach, my problem was that I couldn't do anything with the carbon right away. The night of the Seder is already Bal Ta'acher. From Rashi and Tosfos is mashma. Yeah, the Turei Even learns it doesn't go into Bal Ta'acher, because Bal Ta'acher is only if you could bring it afterwards and you don't bring it. But here, a carbon B'chayr is clearly Bal Ta'acher. The Brayse clearly says. It's clearly Bal Ta'acher. In other words, I don't bring my B'chayr in the prescribed limit, it's Bal Ta'acher, right? So if I don't bring my Oila and Chatos after 3 Yomim Tovim, it's not possible. So what do you need? The pasuk v'haya b'chachet. Reb Meir already gave a beautiful limud that Bal Ta'acher doesn't disqualify a carbon.
I don't know what that was.
So again, our Brayse said v'haya b'chachet teaches the chet is in you and not in the carbon. Frag the Gemarah, what do you need the v'haya b'chachet? We already have a Brayse that quotes Reb Meir and says another limud. How you know that the carbon is not disqualified? What's the limud? The limud is that B'chayr has to be given within a year. Nonetheless, you might think that if you gave it after the year, you can't bring it as a carbon anymore. But the Gemarah compares it to Meiser, which you also give within the year. But if after the year passed, you can still give the Meiser. So B'chayr you can also. That's what the Meir taught us. From here, we have a new Yisoid. If you bring the B'chayr the next year, you oiven on Bal Ta'acher, right? According to the Meir, for sure. But according to everybody, you oiven on Bal Ta'acher, because 3 Yomim Tovim passed. According to the Meir, for sure with Bal Ta'acher, because 1 Yom Tov passed. Nonetheless, the B'chayr is kosher. Is the Charaya that Bal Ta'acher has nothing to do with the kashrus of the carbon. So you don't need V'haya b'chachet. That's the kasha of the Gemarah. Just to be mamtik the Shaila of Reb Meir. When the Gemarah introduced the first time all the shittas and Avdalah Amid Beis, how Bal Ta'acher works, the Gemarah introduced the shitta of Reb Meir that 1 Yom Tov already makes Bal Ta'acher. What was the source of Reb Meir? The source of Reb Meir was a pasuk in Parshas Re'eh, and that is which is this parsha that we're talking about. That it says you should, when you want to bring a carbon, you should go to the place that Hashem chooses. Uvasa shama, you should come there. V'havesem shama elisechem zevchechem asesechem trumasyatchem nedrechem b'sechem b'chodes b'karchem b'tzayich. So Reb Meir learns. It says ubasa shama v'havesem shama. What's ubasam shama v'havesem shama? That Reb Meir learns, when you come there, why would you come there? Because Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkot, you have to come. B'havesim, you have to bring all your karbanos. So from here, Reb Meir learns that if Yom Tov passes, and you don't bring all your karbanos, you're over about Uvasa shama v'havesim shama. That was Reb Meir's limit. It was a big chiddush, that 1 Yom Tov is enough to pass about Tachas. So the Gemarah asks, what about the Rabbanon? What would they do with this pasuk? So the Gemarah says, the Rabbanon say it's only a mitzvah's essay. In other words, everybody holds it's a mitzvah's essay to bring your karbonis in the first Yom Tov. But let's say it passed. Reb Meir says that's the zman. Since you have to bring it then, that's the zman. And if not, you're over in a loisasa. It's Bal Ta'acher, it's late. Chachamim say no, it's a mitzvah's essay to do that, but it doesn't mean that if you didn't do that, you're over on Bal Ta'acher. What do we see here from Reb Meir? That the Torah says this is the zman to bring it. Reb Meir says it means that if you bring it afterwards, so it's kamlei b'Bal Ta'acher. So this Reb Meir also says here, since the b'chor you eat shana b'shana, you have to bring it shana b'shana, that's the zman, you would think that not bringing it then is not just you were late. Right? The carbon itself is disqualified. Ad kedei kach. Comes Reb Meir and says, no, the carbon is not disqualified, even though you didn't do a Shana B'Shana, and even though you were over on Bal Ta'acher, but nonetheless, the carbon is still not disqualified, and therefore we see that Bal Ta'acher, the carbon is completely not disqualified. Zog the Gemarah, it's you need the pasuk v'haya b'chachet solkedai t'chamin, I would think. Very nice. You compared B'chor to Meiser. Meiser, t'gonche, t'roshche v'tzenacha, B'chor is B'chorche v'tzenacha. So you know the carbon doesn't get pasul. Hanem mili B'chor. I would say this is only by B'chor the lav bar hartzahu. B'chayr is not a carbon that you bring to be miratza, to appease. You don't bring a b'chayr as an atonement, as a source of forgiveness. B'chayr is a chiyuv that one of the taxations that we have to support the koyanim is from the Chavdalad Matnas Kohuna. There's 24 gifts that were given to the koyanim, who are the spiritual servants of Klal Yisrael and are Isaac all day in Torah and Avodah and the Beis Hamikdash and so forth. So we support them. So one of the ways we support them is we give them the b'chayr. It's not that the b'chayr is a psa forgiveness, it's a psa ritzui. It's not a union of kapara. So by Mela you would say there's taka time to give it. If you delay it, you did the wrong thing. You delayed the payment to the kohen. It's a chesed, it's an aveda, but it wouldn't make a shinui in the carbon itself, because the kohen got his b'chayr. Avol kachim the bnei hartzanin, but other carbonas that their objective is they come for hartzah from the word ratzon. They come for appeasement, for forgiveness. Ema loyli ratzon. Now I would say that when you did the aveda, Rashi says there, starka lashon, ema loyli ratzon me'acher shehavian ba'aveda. Ein katega nasa sanega. You're coming to get atonement, right? And you're doing it through an aveda. You're doing it in the wrong way. So you're undermining your very carbon. Because the way you're bringing the carbon is through an aveda. You would think, that's a different mitzvah. B'chayr, it's le'noga zeh b'zeh. You made a mistake, but the b'chayr is a b'chayr. You give me the kohen is getting his money. So to speak, it's a din of kedusha, but it's so to speak like dinei mamanis. Dinei mamanis. Yeah. But here, the whole carbon, the tachlis is kapara, so you would think the aveda undermines that. The kapara came through an aveda, in an aveda, because bal ta'acher. So you would think that even though b'chayr is also bal ta'acher, but it has a different hagdara. And therefore, Reb Meir teaches me that in b'chayr there's no psul. So I learned that in bal ta'acher there's no psul if it's a b'chayr. But I still wouldn't compare it to other things. The hava min b'chayr is bal ta'acher and there's no psul. So why would anything else have a psul? So this the Gemarah is mechalik. There's a reason to say why by b'chayr there's no psul. But by other karbanos you would say there is a psul. So Kamash Malan, that's why you need a pasuk v'haya b'chachet, and Reb Meir's pasuk is not enough. That what? That even karbonos that are coming for kapara or ritzui, v'haya b'chachet v'loi b'karboncha chet. Now you might ask a question, so why does Reb Meir need his pasuk? The question is on Reb Meir, should say v'haya b'chachet v'loi b'karboncha chet, so for sure it includes also b'chayr. Why would b'chayr be worse than a chatos, an oila, a shlomim, which all have an element of kapara, by the way. Oila is mechapra mitzvahs essay, chatas is mechapra mitzvahs loisasa, shlomim it says are like a gift that creates shalom between Yisrael, Aviyim, Shabbat Shamayim. It's all an element of closeness, of peace, of atonement, of rotzim, but not b'chayr. So l'chayda, why does he need a separate pasuk by b'chayr? So the Tudei Even says that if it would only say v'haya b'chachet, it wouldn't be enough, because you would say v'haya b'chachet means v'loi b'karbon chachet, that the carbon is not puzzle. It's a kosher carbon, but it's not miratz. It's not miratz. It doesn't tu'uf a ritzu. It's a kosher carbon. You don't have to throw it in the garbage, but it doesn't tu'uf ritzu. It's not chulun bazara, but a ritzu it doesn't tu'uf. That's why once you have a by b'chayr that it does work. So you know that the carbon is not puzzle. It's not mitzad ritzui. So now you have an extra pasuk that teaches me that the carbon is even miratza. In other words, the fact that you came late is a chisaron, but it doesn't affect the quality of the relationship. The quality of the relationship still remains the same, even though the I'm sorry came a little too late. You should have said it earlier, but the kapara is the same. Carbon chatos is something that's doinei karis, shigase chatos. Not so many things. Carbon chatos is 43 things. All Isurei Shabbos, most of them are Isurei Arayos. All shoygig, yeah. If it's something that a Zodin would be, that's an old shiloh. Why does shoygig need kapara? It was a mistake. Yeah, this is a sugya b'fnei atzma. Frag the Gemarah. Okay, very clear. So we have two psukim. V'akati, tafov medala v'akati med ben azay dafka. We're not finished yet. V'haya b'chachet is not necessary because we have another drasha of Ben Azai. And Ben Azai taught us the same yesod that the Bal Teacher doesn't disqualify a carbon, and we don't need v'haya b'chachet, so we're back to square one. The Tanya, we have another brayso. The brayso is Oktazai Ben Azai, and Ben Azai says, and here we quote a new pasuk. The Gemarah just says one word oisai. Now you have to think, the Gemarah says the word oisai, and realize that the person right away knows which pasuk it is. So Rashi gives us the pasuk, Oisa. This is in Parshas Tzav talking about pigul. Let's remember what is pigul. Pigul is the following situation. A kohen is makriv a carbon, and it's a very interesting halacha because it's from the few halachas that thought creates the whole problem. Thought. And the kohen has a machshava. While he's offering the carbon, what do we mean while he's offering the carbon? Not when it's walking it to the Beis HaMikdash. While he's offering the carbon means during one of 4 times. During the shchita, the slaughtering of it, during accepting the blood of it in a keli. Number 3, halacha, bringing the blood to the altar. And number 4, zrika, sprinkling it on the altar. During one of these 4 stages, if he has a machshava, that he's going to eat the flesh of the carbon in the wrong time. For example, it's Monday and he thinks, you know what, Wednesday night I think is a good time to have a barbecue and eat this carbon. Or he's going to burn it on the mizbeach in the wrong time. He's going to burn it tomorrow. Whatever the wrong time is, every carbon has its time when you have to eat it. That machshava disqualifies the carbon, it becomes pigul, and you're not allowed to eat the carbon. And if somebody eats that carbon b'shoigig, he's mechuyev to bring a carbon chatas. That's the din of pigul. How does the Torah describe the halacha? So the pasuk is the full pasuk. Rashi quotes part of it on the side. They have the full pasuk. V'im he'achel ye'achel mipsar zevach shlamav bayoyim hashlishi lo ye'ratza hamakriv oisai lo ye'chashev lo pigul yiyah. So if you eat from the psar of shlam on the 3rd day, lo ye'ratza, there's no ratzin. It's not good. Hamakriv oisai. The one who's makriv it, lo yechashav lo, it will not be considered for him. In other words, it's not a good carbon already by the akrava. Lo yechashav lo. The word yechashav doesn't only mean it's not chashav, it's not considered. It's not counted. Pigul yiyah, it becomes pigul. Frag the Gemarah, oisay ma talmud loymar. We now go back to the system of how Torah was written, that within every single word you have contained a shiur of Moshe Rabbeinu. Oisai ma talmud loymar. The word oisai is unnecessary. It could have easily said bayoyim hashlishi lo yeratza hamakriv lo yechashav lo. Obviously, you're talking about the one who's makriv that carbon. Makriv another carbon. You're talking about a carbon. Say hamakriv, the one who's makriv. It's not chashav. It doesn't work. It doesn't count. What if they are makriv oisai in the same sentence? You're talking about that carbon. So zak ben azai. It's very interesting. Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to tell you a halacha. Hamakriv oisoi. Hamakriv oisoi lo yechashav lo. Oisoi means only him. What not? What not? Bal Teacher. Bal Teacher is in Sefer Dvarim. It's not negeya. But the oisoi negates something. It shoylo something. What is it shoylo? Bal Teacher. Hamakriv oisoi. Oisoi lo yeratza. That's what he says. Ma talmud loymar lefish and namakisi the nedel Hashem alekach leisachel l'shalmoi shemei ani af ma'achin nidrei beval yeratza. If somebody delays his neder and brings his carbon after the prescribed time, it's bal yeratza, just like a carbon puzzle, just like a carbon that you have a machshava. To eat it after the wrong time, so you would think, and even it's a kol shekeh. I'm being makriv a carbon, and I just think, nothing else. I don't do it. I just think I'm going to eat it in 3 days. Boom, worthless. It's a worthless carbon. Of course, the kohen has to be honest about his machshava, because if not, nobody knows what he did. Of course, if there was dibur, for sure. Some say pigul is dafke b'dibur. Okay, that's a machlokes. If pigul is dafke b'dibur, only b'machshava, or even b'machshava. But the point is, just the machshava of it passes it. So you would think, if you mamish put off your carbon, you delay your carbon. Not only in machshava, you physically bring your carbon a year late. Zichel lo yeratza. Talmud loymar oisoi. Oisoi b'lo yeratza. Ve'en ma'achinidre b'lo yeratza. Ma'achinidre doesn't go into the klal of lo yeratza. In other words, the carbon is not possible, it's not pigul. So you don't need the bard v'haya b'chachet. So we're back to square one. Why do you need v'haya b'chachet l'chayr? And here you can't tell me it's b'chayr and not others. Because this pasuk hamakriv oisoi is not only mar b'chayr, saying hamakriv oisoi and not anything else in Bal Teacher. So for b'chayr I already have a pasuk ma'aseh gonch. V'haya b'chachet is completely unnecessary. Now you can't make the chilik. Maybe you could say, okay, hamakriv oisai. It excludes the karbonis that are Bal Teacher, but only the karbonis like b'chayr that are not boyim l'ritzui. But the b'chayr is that the karbonis that boyim l'ritzui would be. But for that we have a pasuk by b'chayr from Rabbi. Besides that, the pasuk says hamakriv oisai lo yeratza. In other words, we're talking about karbonis that are coming l'ritzui, and still we're saying oisai and not Bal Teacher. So you wouldn't make that distinction in this pasuk. So we don't need v'haya b'chachet. And for the Gemarah ella b'chachet v'loy b'ishtachachet. V'hoya b'chachet is telling you something more subtle. V'hoya b'chachet, it's a chet in you and not in your wife. In other words, don't blame his wife. She's not guilty. What's the connection with the wife? What's the connection with the knife? Well, knife. So some people would say, what do you mean? You blame everything your wife. That's what people do. Something goes wrong, you blame your wife. But the Gemarah halt nicht, does right? So the Gemarah explains, Solka daite chamin. Here I would think is different. Hoyel v'amar Rabbi Yochanan said, v'temer Rabbi Elazar, ein ish teshel adam meiselim ken mevakshim imenu mammon ve'ein loi. A wife of a person does not die prematurely only if a person stole money. A person stole money from somebody else, and they come and they ask him for the money. Ve'ein loi. And he says, no, I'm not paying. He claims he doesn't have the money, and as the Shittim Ukebetza says, and his wife becomes a partner in this. Why does she become a partner? Because basically what he does is he has the money. He says, I need the money for the ksuva. He puts it on his wife's name, or he says it's a lien on the ksuva, and the wife says the same thing. My husband has no money. In other words, they become partners in crime, stealing money from people, and then when they want the money, the people don't have it. That's what the Shittim Mekabetzes clarifies. It's not stam the wife comes in here suddenly. The wife became an accomplice. So Rabbi Yochanan says, that's when Ishta Shalada Mesa. Shenemar, what's the source of it? It's a pasuk in Mishlei. Im ein lecha l'shalem, lama yikach mishkavcha mitachtecha. If you don't have what to pay, why should you cause that your mishkavcha, the one you lay with, your spouse, should be taken from you? In other words, it's connected to the fact that somebody steals money from other people and will refuse to pay back, and using his wife, or she uses him, or they use each other to make this cover-up that they really don't have money that they stole from other people. Now literally the Pasuk in Mishlei is not talking about. Literally the Pasuk in Mishlei is warning people about becoming arevim, becoming guarantors. Sometimes people, they say, oh, you need to borrow money, I'll become a guarantor. He says, be very careful, because you have to know who, medvem engaged at some tish. Sometimes you become a guarantor for somebody, and you the one who ends up broke. He gets the money, he gets the $1 million, and he runs to New Zealand. But you became an ariv, and then you end up without a mattress. So Shlomo HaMelech is saying, be careful who you become a guarantor for, because people could use you. Rabbi Yochanan is teaching al derech haremes that it's talking about a case where mein lecha l'shalem, not as a guarantor. Mein lecha goes, you stole, and you don't want to pay back. So you say you don't want to pay back. Why should somebody Chalila lose their spouse? So based on this shit of Rabbi Yochanan, you could say, just like I took money from you and I'm not paying you back, it can affect his spouse here too. Bal Teacher, again, you made a pledge, you owe the money, you're not paying. This has to do with you and God, nothing to do with your spouse. That's now here you have to understand a little bit. The Brisa says, so is the Gemarah changing the Brisa? The Gemarah is saying that Loid ben Azai, who learns it from the Pasuk, Hamakriv Oisai, is used for our Brisa Taka learned it not from Ben Azai. But then the question is, why does our Tan in the Brisa not use Ben Azai's limud? So the Sfasemis actually writes that the Pshat in the Gemarah here is different. The Pshat in the Gemarah is not that Ben Azai learns it that way. Even our Brisa learns it that way. Why? Since it's not a psul in the carbon. So b'meila you were mashalim your neder. Since you were mashalim your neder, so therefore it has nothing to do with the din of Rabbi Yochanan. The din of Rabbi Yochanan is in a case where you didn't pay back the money that you owe people. If the carbon would become pasul and bal ta'acher, so then what would happen? You didn't pay it because the carbon became pasul. But since we're mechadish, so there's no problem in the neder. The problem is the time of the neder. I delayed it, that's the problem. But it's not that I didn't pay it back. The cheftze got paid back. There was no gzela here. Why? Because the carbon is completely kasher carbon. But because of okay, so this is how the Sfasemis learns that it's pshat in our brayse. It's a new limud. And that's why you need v'haya b'chachet. Not to teach me that the carbon is not possible. That the carbon is not possible, I learn either from Reb Meir or from Ben Azai. But once I say v'loy b'chachet, b'meila I learn v'loy b'ishtachet. That's the word. It's a new pshat in the price of v'loy b'karbon chachet. So the Gemarah weiter. The mitzvah of beer is actually a fourth year. The fourth year Pesach. So you have a lot of time.
The point is
The problem by Bechor then is going to be Pasha, it's at the age.
So after 2 years.
Right, so that's going to be a separate problem, yeah. It's at the age. But the next year would be completely fine. Zog the Gemarah weiter, Tanu Rabban. The rabbis taught after the pasuk Yisidei Neder L'Hashem Elokecha Lo Yisachel L'Shalmai Kidar Shirchen Hashem Elokecha Meimach Vayibachachet. So 2 psukim later, that's Bardim Perek Chav Gimel, pasuk Chav Beis. 2 psukim later, this is Parshas Kiseitzi, close to the end. So you have like this: Perek Chav Gimel, pasuk Chav Beis is Bal Teacher. The next pasuk Chav Gimel is V'chisech Dal Linder Lo Yibachachet. You don't want sin, stop making the darim. The next pasuk is Moitzos Vasecha Tishmer. I'm going to read the whole pasuk because the Gemarah is now going to analyze it. Moitzos Vasecha Tishmer V'asisa Kasher Nardarta L'Adonai Elohecha Nedava Asher Debarta B'ficha. You should guard what comes out of your mouth, and you should do what you promised to Hashem your God, the Nedava that you spoke with your mouth. When you read such a pasuk, you see how wordy it is and apparently repetitive. So immediately the Chazal knew that there's a big shear. There's a big shear here on this pasuk using our previous explanation. So again, you have the first pasuk is the pasuk of Bal Teacher. After the sugya of ribis, you shouldn't blend the borrow ribis. Kisider neder lo yisa'acher v'hoya b'chachet. V'chisech dal linda, if you'll stop nedarim, there won't be a chet. And then comes the positive. Moitzes v'secha tishmer, guard what comes out of your mouth. V'asisek asher nardarta l'Hashem elokecha, nedava asher debarta b'fich. So there's a big braisa that analyzes this second pasuk, which comes right after Bal Teacher with the interruption of one in the middle. Perek Chav Gimel, pasuk Chav Daled and Kiseitz. Tanu Rabban, Moitzes Vasecha zu mitzvahs aseh. Moitzes Vasecha is a mitzvahs essay that what you have to fulfill what comes out of your mouth. It doesn't say that. It says Moitzes Vasecha Tishmer, and a moment later we're going to say Tishmer zu mitzvahs loisese. So Rashi says Moitzes Vasecha is a mitzvahs essay. The mistama hachi amakram Moitzes Vasecha kaya. When the Torah says Moitzes Vasecha Tishmer, you would say, what does it mean? What comes out of your mouth, you should do. But then it says Tishmer zu mitzvahs loisese shaloi ta'acher k'de Reb Abin Amar Rabbi Loi kol makom shneimar hishamer pen va'al, it's a mitzvahs loisese. Whenever it says in Chumash, in Torah, hishamer, shmoir, or pen or al, it's a loisese. Even it doesn't say don't do it, but it says Moitzes Vasecha Tishmer, guard. You always have to guard from something negative. Right? Shmir is from something negative. So Moitzes Vasecha Tishmar, guard it from what? From something negative. What's the negative? That you won't fulfill your neder. In other words, you will delay your neder, or you won't do your neder. You won't do it at all, you'll do it late. So this is the loises. So we have a mitzvahs essay to do what you say you're going to do, and we have a mitzvahs loises if you don't. Next, Vasisa. What's Vasisa? Azhara lebezdin sheyasuch. This is a warning for bezdin that they should compel you to do it. And the way that Ritva teaches it, it's not a tzivoy on bezdin, because it says Vasisa. Moitzes Vasecha Tishmer Vasisa. So Chazal can't come and say Vasisa means bezdin should do it. You don't pass the buck. I said you should do it, not bezdin to do it. What he means is Vasisa means you should do it. In other words, if you don't do it because of your own essay and loisesa that you have to do, Vasisa, you're going to end up doing it because bezdin is mechuyev to make you do it. So Vasisa, so to speak, you're going to do it. So from here you learn Azar lebezdin. Not that Vasisa means Azar lebezdin. The Ritva says you don't find anywhere in the Torah that the Torah tells one person do this, and then Chazal say no, it doesn't mean you, it means somebody else. Do this means you do it. He says no, Vasisa means you'll end up doing it because there's Azar lebezdin. That's the next piece. So Tosfos says it's a whole other vart that when Moshe Rabbeinu makes a condition with Bnei Gad and Bnei Reuven that they're going to go fight in Eretz Yisrael, he says Hayoytze mipichem tasu. So Mele Tosfos says that Moitzes Vasecha is like Hayoytze mipichem, and he says over there Hayoytze mipichem tasu. So therefore you say Moitzes Vasechem is tasu. It's another Inyan. There's a mitzvahs essay to do, and there's a mitzvahs loises if you don't do it. It's two chiyuvim, two separate chiyuvim. It's a mitzvahs essay to do, and a mitzvahs loises. So for example, by Shabbos, one day by Shabbos is Tishbos, you have to rest, right? If you do a malachi, you do two things. Number one, you mevatel a mitzvahs essay, and you mevatel, and you are also over on a mitzvahs loises. On the other hand, if a person doesn't put on tefillin, he was just mevatel a mitzvah sasser. If a person doesn't say Krishma, he was mevatel a mitzvah sasser. Here, if I don't do my neder, I'm not only mevatel a mitzvah sasser, I'm also over on a leisus. He says, don't do it. Don't not do your neder. Sag the Gemarah weiter. Kasher no darta. Next piece. Kasher no darta. Zen neder. A person makes a neder, for example, Harei alai carbon. L'Hashem alakecha, elu chatoyos, hashamas, oilus, ushlamim. All the karbonas that you mechuyev to bring, achatas and asham and oilah, means here an oilus re'iyah, on Yom Tif, or a shlamim that you have to bring on Yom Tif, that's an obligation. L'Hashem alakecha is teaching you karbonas that you mechuyev to bring for Hashem. That's why it says L'Hashem alakecha. Nadarta is a neder carbon. L'Hashem alakecha is a chiyuv carbon. Next, nedava, k'mashmai. A carbon that's nadava, you say Harei zeh carbon. Next, asher departa, that you spoke, elu kotche b'da kabayis. This is all the contributions and adonim that you give for the Beis Hamikdash. Asher departa is superfluous, it's b'da kabayis. Next, ficha is also superfluous, zu tzedakah. This is a promise, a pledge to give tzedakah to poor people. On all these things, you have a mitzvahs essay, mitzvahs v'secha tishmar, and you have a mitzvahs loisasa of tishmar, that if you don't do it, if you don't bring your neder, you're over on a loisasa. This is how the Gemarah analyzes this pasuk. Now, Omar Mar.
It's the same as Bal Teacher.
Oh, so that's the funny thing. The two psukim earlier, you just gave me a whole thing with Bal Teacher, and you went through all these things. You went through Kisidor, Neder, L'Hashem, L'Kecha, right? All these things. Lo Sa'acher, L'Shalma, Kedosh, L'Shem, Hashem, L'Kecha, and we went through all these things. What Siddur is, what Neder is, what Hashem, L'Kecha is, what L'Shalma is, Kedosh, Yidrishenu, Hashem, L'Kecha, again. So the Gemarah is going to say, Tanu Rabbanon, Omar Mar, the master said, in other words, the Brisa just said, Mitzvahs v'sechas u'mitzvahs eseh. Oh, so this is already not Bal Teacher. This is a mitzvahs eseh. But I have another problem. Lamali, what do I need a mitzvahs eseh and mitzvahs esecha? Meyuvasa shama v'avesim shama nafka. We already learned it out from the previous pasuk in Dvarim Perek Yud Beis, where it says Parshas Re'eh. You'll come there to the Beis Hamikdash and you'll bring all your karbonas. We learned before that it's a mitzvahs eseh. That whenever you come to the Beis Hamikdash, Pesach, Shavuos, Sukkos, you have a mitzvahs eseh to bring your karbonas. So it's a mitzvahs essay that you have to fulfill your pledge. That's where the Meir actually learned that Bal Teacher is if one Yom Tov passes. So we disagree with Reb Meir. We say Bal Teacher is 3 Yom Tovim. But everybody is moideh to Reb Meir that there's a mitzvahs essay that you have to bring it when I go there. And if I don't bring it on Pesach, even though I bring it Shavuos, Bal Teacher I wasn't over it on, according to the other shit. It's not Reb Meir. But a mitzvahs essay, I wasn't Mekayim. Uvasa shama v'havesim shama. So what do I gain from the mitzvahs v'secha tishmar zu mitzvahs essay when I already have this second pasuk by karbonas? Zog the Gemarah uvasa shama v'havesim shama nafka. That's question number 1. Question number 2. Tishmar zu mitzvahs loisasa. Lomali loisacha l'shalmei nafka. 2 psukim earlier you said you make a neder, don't delay paying it, and if you do, you oiv it on a loisasa. So what do I need the tishmer for? Completely superfluous. Mitzvahs v'secha is not needed. Tishmer is not needed. Nobody holds the loisasa starts right away.
Well, you just said that there's a bit where mitzvahs eseh right away, even if you
Not right away. 1 Yom Tov. So we're now being mechadish a whole new vart. But if that's the case, that 1 Yom Tov you're already over on a loisasa, then Bal Teacher is superfluous. Already 1 Yom Tov passes, I already was over on a loisasa.
You don't need both.
So one is all like one. Then the whole Bal Teacher is a wasted mitzvah. It's like already much worse than that. So that's number 2. Next, the Gemarah is now analyzing every piece here is a problem. Sisa azar lebezin sheyasuch. I mean, lamali. What do you need this? We already have this from a whole other pasuk. So again, the mitzvah sese we have from Parshas Re'eh. The mitzvah loisa, so we have 2 psukim earlier, loisa achen and kiseitze. The third mitzvah that Bezdin has to compel people, enforce nidarim. We have another pasuk. What's the pasuk in Vayikra? The whole pasuk says, "Im oila karbonim in abakar, zachar tamim yakrivenu al pesach oil moyed yakriv oil soiler tzayna lifnei Hashem." If a person brings a carbon oila, it has to be zachar, right? A carbon oil is always a zachar, and you bring it to the door of the oil moyed yakriv oil soiler tzayna lifnei Hashem. Nafka, from here we already learned that Bezdin compels you to do another. The Tanya, we have a brayso. The pasuk says yakriv oisai. Yakriv oisai is superfluous. It should have said, Im oila karbonim in abaka zachar tamim yakrivenu el pesach oil moyed yakrivenu l'ritzoyna l'fnei Hashem. What's yakriv oisai? Yakrivenu is shorter and more succinct and more meduyik. Melamed shekoyfen oisai. From here you teach that koyfen oisai, Bezdin compels the person who brings the neder to be mekayim. Yachal bal karcha, you would think you pashat force him. You force him to do it. Talmud loymar l'ritzoynai. Yakriv oisei l'ritzoynai. Haketzat. How do you force somebody to do something and then you say it's l'ritzoynai? So here's the famous expression of Chazal, Koifen oisei at sheyomer reitzani. You force him until he says, I want. So Yakriv oisei means not Yakrivenu, that Bezdin sometimes enforces it, but it's not enough to enforce it. Koifen oisei at sheyomer reitzani. Famous Rambam in Hilchas Gerushin, Perek Beis Halacha Chaf, the Rambam says this is brought by Karbonis, and it's also brought by a get. Sometimes a person is mechuyev to give a get, but he doesn't want to. But it has to be meratzin. You can't give a get bal karchas. A koifen oisoi at sheyomer reitzani. Frag the Rambam l'chayre. It's a joke. A moment later, if he'll ask the guy, "Did you want?" he'll say no. Even then, if you'll blink to him, if he wants, he says the only reason I'm saying I want is because koifen oisoi. So the Rambam famously, a long Rambam over there, and the Rambam says that since he's a Jew, so therefore it's soynoi liyos mi Yisrael lasas kol ha-mitzvahs u'lisrachik min ha-averis v'rak yitzroi hu shetokfoi. It's only his Yetzirah that overpowered him. So even though he says that he doesn't want, but the truth is that he wants. So Mela, when koifen oisei at sheyomer reitzani, the words reitzani are expressing his true desire because Yitzroi hu shetokfoi. No. I don't care about the shliach's machshavas. It's just when he appointed the shliach, it has to be with his ratzon. That's it. There's nothing else. No need for any machshavas. No, but the Bezdin will not allow such a get to pass through if they don't know that the husband consented. They will never do it. That's the whole sugi in Gittin. You have to have the witnesses to be able to say that they saw. Yeah, they know that the husband consented. You're 100% right. If you don't know that there was a consent with the husband, you have big problems because it could be a mamzeda. We don't care what the shlich thinks about. He could think about sushi when he gives a get. He's just a delivery man. We don't care his machshava. He's not giving the get. He's not giving the get. He's just all we need is that the husband should consent. That's it. So what do you see here? You see clearly here that Bezdin enforces a neder. So what do you need vasisa? So Moitzes Vasechet Tishmer is not necessary. Tishmer is not necessary. Vasisa is not necessary. So your whole pasuk here that you introduced is completely swallowed up by other pasuk. And for the Gemarah, Chat, one pasuk is talking about the Amar. A person said, I have to bring a carbon v'lo yafresh, but he was never makdish the carbon. So the pasuk says, if he's not makdish the carbon, he's over on a lav and an essay, and Bezdin tells him to do it. V'chad, the second pasuk is afrish v'lo yakriv. You separated the carbon. You were makdish the sheep or the goat or the cow, but you weren't makriv it. If you delay it, you're over on a lav and an essay, and Bezdin forces you to do it. In other words, there's two separate halachas here, and they all have the same halacha. One is, I make a neder with my mouth, and that's it. So you know what? I'll do it in a year. I'm going to Yerushalayim. There's a lav, Bal Teacher, if you pass the 3 Yom Tov. There's an essay, the first Yom Tov. Bezdin has to enforce me. The second, that's one set of psukim. The Gemara doesn't say which set is what. But that's the set of maybe Moitzes Vasechet Tishmer, Vasisa, and Tishmer. The second set of psukim, which is what? Uvasa, Bal Teacher, and Yakriv Oisoi, is teaching me, no, you are mafresh a carbon, you have the animal, but you procrastinate in delivering the goods. Why would you be mechalik one from the other? So the Gemara says the svara, Utzrich, the Yashmin and Amma v'lo yafresh. If you would tell me that you're over on a license, if you said you're going to do it, but you weren't makdish it, I would say, because this guy did not fulfill his pledge. Aval afrish v'lo yakriv. But if he already was mafresh it, he just didn't bring it to the Beis HaMikdash. Ema, you might say, kol heiche de isei bei gaza de rachmane isei. Wherever it is, it's in the Beis HaOitzer of Hashem. Bei gaza de rachmane means in the treasure house of Hashem. In other words, the sheep could be in my pen, but it's in the Rishus of the Beis HaMikdash. It's in the Rishus Hashem. Huh? It's like it's there. So I was Makayim my neder. Tzricha. So you have to say no. This is also an essay and a loisus and Bezdin and forces. The other way. V'yashmin and afrish v'lo. So just say the other one. V'yashmin and afrish v'lo yakriv. The pasuk would only tell you that you're over if you're mafresh and not makriv. You would say, when are you over it? The kamashile gabei. Because here you actually have it and you're not giving it up. Aval omar v'lo yafresh ema dibur alai klom hu. Listen, it's a good thing to do what you said, but it's his dibur. Okay, here it's like you should have the cheftza belongs to him. Give it back. Dibur is like klum tzricha, so therefore you need both psukim to teach me that you're chayiv and an essay and a loisasa, and Bezdin forces you to do it if you delay not only delivering the carbon but also separating the carbon.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.